God, we come before you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all that you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask you for guidance and strength during this meeting, and that you will show us the way and fill us with wisdom. Help us to remember your love and grace and to be faithful in our service to you and our service to this county. Give us the patience and understanding to face the challenges today. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Howard.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Before we get started, I'm going to tell people out in the audience that this room is small, really small, and voices travel. And we're broadcasting live on YouTube, so if you have a conversation or any comments that's not directed towards the commissioner specifically, I'll ask you to step outside. That way we don't interrupt the people on YouTube or people here trying to conduct county business. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Leyland.
Present.
Commissioner Lawrence. Commissioner Locke. Here. Chair Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Howie. Present. Commissioner Barrera. Commissioner Marchetti.
Here.
And Commissioner Lee.
Here.
All right, welcome everybody. Before I open the floor for public comment, I'll give you 3 minutes. Won't be any back and forth, but if you do have anything specific for your area, feel free to get with your specific county commissioner afterwards or with me, and we'll deal with it. All right, with that said, the floor is now open for public comment.
Good evening.
Hi.
First, I would like to thank Administrator Newton and the board for starting a new comp study. There's a hiring crisis in the county, and with our continual open positions, the court is beginning to feel like a revolving door. Nothing is more promising than having an employer who sees and attempts to correct a need. Therefore, your actions are seen, appreciated, and respected. Next, the MERS committee has revealed the disheartening results of non-union members losing their pension and the county not being able to reverse the effects of that decision. Therefore, I would like to request consideration for a letter of understanding between the county and the CCIEA to remove the trigger for our pensions from our pension for our contract as is being discussed for the sheriff's employees. I am willing to meet with Administrator Newton to draft a letter of understanding if the board accepts this request. Finally, please consider that in an attempt to promote and ensure workplace fairness, it is okay to exhibit flexibility in specific policies when they no longer serve the environment you're trying to foster. Thank you.
Thank you. Reset my timer. Next. You're a county partner and would be able to speak during that time. Well, I don't think we have that on here today.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, you're good. Come on up, Corey.
All right.
My bad. You gotta wait till next time.
Well, next meeting for the county partner report, our new soil erosion and sediment control administrator is going to give the report.
All right.
Tracy Weesaw. We did hire and she started and everything's going great.
That's good.
That way. And I just came to announce a few things. On April 10th, NRCS and MEEP are holding an event at the Hudson Memorial Building in Marcellus for regenerative agricultural and conservation practices for farms, forest, livestock crops. I have some flyers about that. I do encourage people to contact their legislators about the MEEP program because our MEEP technician, Emily Haluda, did leave recently. She found another great opportunity for herself, but because the MEEP, there's legislation right now to change the MEEP program, they will not be refilling that position here in Cass until we know more about what's going to happen statewide. So our farms are on hold for meat verifications. And it's going to be, I do have a survey that Michigan Association of Conservation Districts is asking people, especially farmers, to complete to promote the need for MEAP in all the conservation districts, and I can't say too much more about it. We just need the support. Also, we have our Hike with a Naturalist program that has started out at Dr. Lawless Park in March, and we had a great night with Robert Parrish. Not the first night it was planned, we had to wait because of weather to the next alternate date, but it was very nice. And we listened to turkeys roosting, plus saw all the stars. Our next study is April 9th, where we're going to be looking at the vernal pond, and hopefully it's not all done by then because it's been warm and the salamanders and frogs are already out moving around. So we'll be doing that if anyone's interested in more information about that. Last, I have our tree sale order forms. I would like you to take one, pass it around. And this is an important fundraiser for the district. Sales are going well. It's our first time online. So you can go online and try to order as well. And that's all for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Thought you was getting up to talk, Mark. Mr. Boyer.
I've been told I have 2 minutes and 54 seconds, recorded by the chairman. My name is Roger Boyer. I'm from Porter Township, live near Vandalia. Live right behind Dr. Lawless Park, by the way. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Why does government exist? Many very learned people down through history have said that it is to create rules, in other words, laws. It is almost certain that the first rules were enacted to protect one group of people from another, law and order. People learned quickly that if they would band together for protection, that protection was usually achieved. Government has many other functions besides law and order, but none more important in my opinion. A little over 2 weeks ago, this commission, you folks, agreed to establish a committee to look at ways to solve a looming crisis, a lack of police, deputies, so forth on the road, and lack of prosecutors. I and one other, Lynn Shantz, volunteered to be part of that committee, and on March 12th, we were approved, but after the first meeting, it was decided that to be legal, the whole county commission needed to vote on our approval. I understand that. The committee met again just a couple days ago, this Tuesday, and allowed Lynn and I to have input from the audience, not as committee members. And I thought when the meeting ended, we were going to be approved to be part of the committee, but apparently some of the commissioners believe that allowing 2 citizens to have official input into commission decisions was setting a dangerous precedent. So from my point of view, the Cass County Commission may have won this battle, but we the people lost it. But I'm wondering about the war. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, sir. Floor is still open. Mr. Bundle.
Good evening. First of all, thank you all for allowing us the time for public comment. I'll take advantage of the situation that our conservation colleague noted there is no community partner section in this meeting. I just wanted to quickly share with you that there had been some concern expressed about the costs that for our Cass County public transportation. Been brought to me by community partners and also out in the public square. So I just wanted to quickly share with the County Commission, each one of you, facts from the Michigan Department of Transportation on the reconciled expenses of Cass County Transportation. I've submitted the data here from all of the counties, all of the transit agencies across the state who provide regular service, same class of service that we do. So you can take this data, use it as you will, but just want to present some facts to go along with some of the perceptions that are out there. So we have some facts from MDOT here. You can look at the data, look at counties of similar size, look at our neighboring counties, and draw your own conclusions from facts. So if I may, I'd like to distribute.
Yeah, please do. And if any of us have any questions, we can just feel free to reach out to him.
Please do.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, no problem.
Any members of the public would like you to have
All right, floor is still open for public comment. Len?
Okay, I'm Lynn Shawns that Roger was speaking about, and yes, we need to have transparency for our county. And I would like to thank whoever, Jennifer, if this was you that put the fund balance online, thank you very much. As I was looking through the fund balance and through the rest of the 78 pages that was online, I did run across the spot to where the fund balance at 9/30 of 2022, the fund balance had a balance of $9,018,784. So then as I'm reading through, then I find that it says, original from 2022/2023 budget as adopted, we end up with $1,849,469. So within a year's time, there's like $7 million that, you know, I don't know where it's at. I would like to have clarification as to where the $7 million is at from 2022 to 2023 as a taxpayer. I'm sure all the other taxpayers out here would like to know where that money is at too. You know, that's transparency, that's what we're here for. And also, under general fund revenue, there's an interest in rents, and it says available balance. And we are in the red, $9,520. And it says the percentage of budget used was 159.2%. So I mean, could somebody explain to me what the interest in rents are? You know, I have no idea what that is. You know, there could be some clarification there too, so we could have some transparency. This is all the citizens that are paying taxes to Cass County. This is all we want. We want transparency. We want to know just exactly where this money is going. Thank you very much for listening to me.
So for clarification, Len, how would you like to have those answered? In a public meeting or sent to you or phone call, email?
I'd rather have it in a public meeting so all of the citizens can hear.
And just follow up like that?
Happening. Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. No? Okay.
I would note that we would anticipate an audit report coming up here probably within the next 2 months, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
They're finishing up our fiscal year 23 audit.
And that would do everything and answer all those
So that
for
would be
everything.
The year preceding the information that's there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Audits are usually, we have 6 months from the end of the fiscal year to complete those, and so generally speaking, a lot of the information that you're seeing is coming back late because there's
Yeah.
review and things like that
Yeah.
that have to go into it.
All right. That'll work. All right, floor's still open. Going once, twice, sold. Floor is now closed for public comment. Number 6, additions or deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to remove item C and send it back to capital projects, and then add items K, L, and M. K is Community Project Funding Grant Application Fiscal Year 25. L is Cass County Transit Authority / loan request. M is Discussion Law Enforcement Strategic Planning / CDET Advisory Board.
All right. We don't need a motion or nothing for that, so anybody have any objections or any other deletions or additions? All right. Hearing none, we'll go to number 7. You're back up again.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor and support. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Commissioner Marquetti, number 8.
Yes. I'd like to move for the approval of the February 15th, 2024 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Second.
Motion on the floor and support. Any discussion? Shouldn't be. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Hey, financial report.
It's in the packet, I just wanted to address real quickly. So the interest is showing a negative, that is revenues. We went over budget. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but say we had budgeted for 100,000 and we got 200,000 in revenues. It's going to show a negative number because we went over anticipated. So that negative number in the revenue is actually a good thing. As far as cash in the bank, you know, if we're looking for actual cash, it's in the bank, it's not sitting around here, or, you know, in Monica's vault. I don't think. And Hope Anderson does a great job sharing investment reports, and she's very great about investing, as we see, you know, our investments are doing great this year. So those would be just the answers to those public questions that kind of arose during public comment.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I chime in a second?
Oh, go for it.
I think I can answer the question that was posed from the public, is that I'm guessing the question is related to the fund balance analysis that's presented here. So the $9,018,000 was the unassigned fund balance as of September 30th of 22. The 1.8 number that you see there was actually the adopted fund balance allocation. So how much of that $9 million was being used as part of that fiscal year 23 budget. The 249 amounts to the adjustment, and then that 814 below it was the allocation of fund balance for this year. So that's where that ending amount of $6,105,000 comes from. With that 1.8, that's what the audit is going to determine for us, that we're going to have a report on, is for that 1.8 that was budgeted, where did we end up in terms of fund balance allocations versus, you know, essentially budget versus actual. That we'll have when we talk about the audit.
Talk about immediate responses. That was great. So that answers both of those questions, Lynn, but we're still going to get the audit report. That's
we
public.
Will still have that.
Yeah, that's coming up in the next few months. That's publicly available at a certain point.
Our final report will be submitted next week.
Yeah.
And then we will work with them to do a presentation in the coming months.
All right. Good deal. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jen. Unfinished business. Don't think we have none. So under new business, the first one is a resolution to increase Cass County Planning Commission to 11 members. So who's here from that? Is Commissioner Marquetti is from there.
Yes.
Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, and in fact, Administrator Newton has done a good job in his narrative of explaining that. We'd like to go from 9 to 11 members. We've had some issues in the past with people being sick, and now I just heard that one of our members just lost a member of her family. So, and we have a huge meeting coming up next Wednesday. We have a master plan we have to review. We have letters from townships, as well as Rebecca Harvey from McKenna is coming to kick off the Planning Commission master plan work. So having 11 members will help us. And also, and as Matt says, it gives a broader example of people from the community.
Mary, I think that's an answer to the issue we had with the board. Remember proxies and all that? That would be the answer to that also, to increase the number of people. That way if somebody's missing.
But the problem is that all of us are required to abide by the Open Meetings Act, which does not allow that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
To increase the size of the
If we do what you're doing, we won't have to, that solves the problem. That was.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
That is one way.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it, so. All right. Any other discussion on that?
Did you want to add something?
The only thing I would add is that, just real quick, the master plan is something we only really do every 10, 12 years.
Right.
And we really want it to be representative of the entire county. The more that we can do that, the better obviously it's going to be. We want a plan that's going to be operational and applicable. And so if we can get more feedback from other people around the county for that, I think that's a good thing. And so I think it you know, lends itself to why increasing that membership is helpful as well.
Yeah, that'll work. So is that will that be your motion to move it forward to
Yes.
the?
I'll support the motion.
All right, motion on the floor and support to move it forward to the business meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it will go to our business meeting. Item Bravo or B, the master plan commitment agreements. See you again.
Okay,
Roseanne.
so when we did our master plan in 2014, it was a joint project with 6 other entities. And we are going to continue doing a joint project with 4 other entities. The 2 entities that we had the last time, one of them is the village of Edwardsburg, and Onto Township is doing a master plan. And so Edwardsburg decided to join with Onto Township, which is perfect.
Makes sense.
Yes. And then the other entity, for whatever reason, chose not to join with us. So we have invited Pokagon, Wayne, Vandalia, and Volhynia to our meeting next week, so which is, that meeting is going to be a huge meeting. So we have invited them. They're the supervisor of the township, the chair of their planning commission, and 1 or 2 other members of the planning commission, because Rebecca Harvey is doing the kickoff for the master plan project. And you see that we have letters of agreement, and we're asking each one of those entities for $2,000 for their portion of the plan. The last time we asked them to do $3,000, and so this is a little bit easier on them.
Is that money to show their commitment also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes
I mean,
sense.
the bulk of the cost is still going to be borne by the county, but when we asked McKenna about it, they thought that the amount we were proposing was fair, and I think it's certainly something where at that cost, I don't think the townships or the village would be able to complete their own master plan at that cost.
We had talked about that.
I think everybody wins a
months
little
ago. We talked about that months ago in one of our breakouts or
Yes.
one
We
of
did.
them.
Yeah. And what happened actually was, and going back to with the McKenna decision, that original agreement did not work out with the original planner. So, you know, a couple months ago, the board approved for McKenna to move forward.
Yeah.
Those costs were a little bit higher. So with this, the cost does go up a little bit, but it goes from 1,500 to 2,000, which I think.
And the
it's a
townships
fair
don't have to
increase.
bear that brunt. You know.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I get it. All right. Any more discussion?
So I would like to have this moved forward
Yes, ma'am.
to our regular meeting.
Somebody out there support her or not?
I support.
All right. Motion on the floor and support. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. From now on, the items on the list will be concurrent with the one that was pulled off. So it was D, it'll be C, and proceeding from there all the way to M. So item letter C,
That screws us up.
resolution in support of citizens for local choice. That would be Commissioner Locke or Leyland.
Yes, we,
Or I'm happy to talk to you if you'd
Huh?
like.
oh, yeah, we want to support this resolution to help with the citizens of the local choice ballot initiative, which seeks to amend amend the Clean and Renewable Energy and Energy Waste Reduction Act to repeal Part A8 as added by Public Act 233 of 2023 in an effort to restore local control for wind and solar operations to the townships and county.
And not from the
And not
state.
the state.
Right. That'd be
So,
great.
It's an act to give the counties and the townships the control over this wind and solar operations instead of the state coming in saying, this is gonna be what it is. We're gonna put all these acres into solar and you don't have a say over it. So,
That's huge in my representative township of Howard right now. There's a big deal about solar panels and things, and people ain't happy, and it's coming from above. All right, anything else, Ryan or Matt?
Nail it. I'll support it moving forward.
I would just add, this actually also now carries the full support of MAC as well.
All right, Michigan Association of Counties. I almost said Michiana.
Their board of directors actually passed this same resolution as well.
All right.
As well as Michigan Township Association.
Right, right, absolutely. Power to the, as Mr. Boyer said, power to the people.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what we need. All right, so that's the motion, and Ryan supported. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D, 2024 remonumentation contracts. That'd be, I don't think she's here, so Matt, you're up for that one.
Okay. Yeah, Erica's not here, so I'll talk about this. Every year, we do have a remonumentation grant through the state. We actually talked about this a few months back for the total grant. What this item would do is actually finalize the agreements for that grant. So I kind of summarized those. There's a grant representative surveyor that kind of oversees the whole thing. And then the surveyors below, I try to see if I can say this without butchering their names, Dreisinger and Associates, Kessler Land Surveying, and Stevenson Land Surveying. Total contract is $39,255. The total grant award is $44,599. Difference in that cost would be materials, things like that they would have to procure. So this actually is just solidifying the agreements with the surveyors to do the work, and all costs are borne by the State Survey and Remonumentation Act grant. So there's no cost to the county for this.
All right, and we say we do it every year.
We do.
Yeah, so we kind of have to.
I'll make the motion to push it forward.
All right, motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, it moves forward. Item number F, or letter F. Gotta get away from saying number, it's a letter F. Letter F, Historic Courthouse Update and Review. Ryan.
It's actually early voting and presidential primary.
Yeah,
Whoops.
it's early voting first.
Yeah, I already checked the other one off. That would be, I'm sorry, because I already checked it off in advance. Dang it.
That's okay. As I've stated before, I did not request monies for the extra election expenses in this budget year because I didn't want to put them below our budget. So I'm going piecemeal as invoices come in. So this round I'm requesting $60,126.89. All of that should be reimbursed. All of it will be reimbursed for the presidential primary costs. So those costs are just over $47,000, and the early voting supplies, just over $13,000. The state is struggling to go through those grants. I wrote the grant probably 6-7 months ago, and I'm still waiting on approval, so we should get that money back. So.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
And is that's still because of that Prop 2 that everybody voted in? Is that related to that?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
I'll make the motion to.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, motion on the floor and support. Huh? You got any more discussion on it?
$1,000.
Yeah.
Oh.
It'll change.
So $60,127.
Please.
All right.
Will it still be your motion there, Ryan? For the even numbers, we have to change it.
Yes, that's
All
my
right.
motion.
And there was support. All right, thanks, John. Yeah, thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we go to Historic Courthouse Update and Review. Ryan.
Administrator Newton's gonna handle it.
All right.
It's right up there, sorry.
Should we turn out the lights? Or at least that one, yeah.
Okay.
Here, aim it back here, right?
I guess I can just stand up maybe. Is it over here?
It's right here, but is it not? Well, let me know.
Okay, how about that? We'll do that. I'll just say next slide, I guess. Okay, we can go back to the original one. I'll talk for just a second. So, we embarked on the Cass County Historic Courthouse project. This would actually date back, the original motion and resolutions to move forward on this go back to, I believe it was October of 2022. So it's been some time in the works now. One of the things that actually really contributed to some of the initial, for lack of a better term, delay really, was that we were anticipating a portion of a congressionally directed spending grant helping offset the costs. We had not anticipated, I guess, the amount of time and effort it was going to take to work through with USDA on getting that all finalized and ready to go. So it ended up adding about a 9.5 month, 10 month delay to the start of the project from what we had anticipated. But that actually culminated in the final award of $1.5 million towards the project. So, you know, all told, I think it was still a worthwhile endeavor to secure that grant, and obviously now we're underway. So we can go to the next slide now. So timeline-wise, we'll touch on this a little bit. So obviously, I mean, I got into it a little bit, but the original historic courthouse was constructed, or I guess this one was constructed in 1899. There was some modernization, and the annex was built in '77. In 2003, operations from the court were moved over to the new Long Courts building at that time, and then this building was vacated. There was several iterations of studies, and you know, I think when I've looked back, no less than 4 or 5 different times they looked at this to figure out, what do we do with this space? How do we go about this? So, and finally, I think it was in 2020, late 2019, early 2020, we did circle back to this. Finally, you know, found a good path forward in terms of moving operations from the annex into the historic courthouse and bringing that back to life. I think the funds from ARPA as well as this grant opportunity really helped drive that. And then in 2022, obviously, we had the approval for that to move forward. And then in 2023, that's when construction finally kicked off late in the year, and picked up significantly this spring, and we're now you know, really moving along at a very good pace right now. We'll go to the next slide. So some of our partners, we get questions from time to time about who the county is working with. So Plaza Corp actually is our owner's representative. So they are kind of at the 20,000 foot view in some cases, working through us with our construction company that we're working with, Elite, as well as our construction manager essentially, and then Intersect, which is on the design team. So advising the county in areas where things come up, hey, here's what you guys need to be mindful of. Reviewing items that we get from Intersect and Elite, and making sure the county is well informed on decision-making processes as we go forward. Plaza Corp is actually a very well-known developer in the area, and has really given us a lot of great advice as we've gone through. Intersect was the company we worked with from the early stages in terms of kind of our initial investigations. What could we do with that space? How does it work? Into our most recent stages where they were working through kind of the final design plans and the actual construction prints that are driving the work that's being done right now. And then Elite Companies is the construction manager that is working with all of the local trades and those groups in terms of facilitating the actual construction work that's taking place. So obviously, with the overview of the project, when we're done, the renovated courthouse is going to house our new commissioner chambers, the administrator's office, the clerk registrar's office, the treasurer's office, GIS, the IT department, equalization, veteran affairs, and we'll also have a community chapel as well. As we work through this project, and we've talked about this before, but just to highlight it again, a lot of what we did was intentional in terms of trying to figure out where are people interacting with the public, or where is the public interacting with the county, and trying to highlight those areas in a way that made sense. So right now, there's instances where if you come in, depending on what you're here for, you might have to make a stop to the clerk registrar's office, and then run upstairs to go to GIS, and then back downstairs to the clerk registrar's office, and then down the hall to the treasurer's office. So a lot of our initial testing was trying to figure out how can we make it easier for the public to be able to complete the business that they need to do with the county and not be running up and downstairs to do that. So a lot of the way we've designed the locations for where everything will be is with that in mind, to try to make sure that we're reducing the amount of complexity for people coming in and saying, hey, I need to do this, and having it be, hey, the window's over there, you can go talk to them, and then right over there next to them is the last place you gotta stop. Whoop, back up a little. Let's see here. The other thing I guess I would touch on, I'm really excited to see the community chapel. We're going to have a dedicated space there where we do weddings, things like that. There'll be a dedicated space for that. Right at the base of the stairwell, I think it's expandable, so if you had a larger wedding, you can actually move chairs out into the corridor space. And I think actually it'll be fun. They just completed the stairs not long ago from the first floor, and as you look, it'd be a really fun place for somebody to enter as long as they don't trip and fall.
Or for pictures.
That's why the camera right there.
You know, but I think that'll be fun. And the other thing I guess I wanted to touch on, and I'm sure a lot of folks have seen this, and it's something that I've noticed throughout my time here with the county, is that when you come into the county now, one of the things you have to do when you're coming to work with anyone in the county is go through a ton of doors. And whether it's the door to get in and then down the hall through the double doors, through that set of doors to get to the window to talk to people behind those other doors, it's really not the most inviting. And so that's one of the other great things about this space is that you're going to see with our treasurer's office and the clerk register office, we're going to have public-facing windows right in the corridor. So as soon as you walk in, you're able to go right to the place you need to go. There'll be signage that'll tell you they're right here. And so it'll be a lot more inviting and a lot less confusion. I talk to people, I think, probably 3 or 4 times a week who tell me they're looking for something and how do I find it? So one of our big objectives here is to try to make it so that those things aren't a problem anymore, that you can come in, you can see the signs, you can see everywhere where you need to go and be able to go right there and not have to wander around the building trying to figure that out. Okay, now we can move on. So here's some photos as we moved through the process. So the top left one was when we were working with Catherine Farwell from USDA on finalizing that grant. The picture there on the right, the top right one there, is actually in what will be the public vault. There is a really fun vault door that's been there for a long time. It says Cass County Courthouse at the top. We were actually able to get the combination figured out so the door is usable now. Won't be a locking door, I don't think, when we're done with the renovation project, but we're really hoping to be able to keep that and have it be something that lives on as well. And then obviously we've got other various pictures from the team throughout the time that has been working on the project. And so I think this has really been a group effort in trying to figure out how to make this work and to bring something to the public that we're really proud of. Next slide. So the project funding, this is how the funding essentially breaks down for the total cost of the project for the construction. So we have 84% of the project will actually be covered through the ARPA funding, and then 16% is comprised of that USDA grant funding we were talking about. So overcoming obstacles. So this is an area we wanted to touch on. Obviously, as you get through any design project, and new construction is one thing, but when you're renovating, a building that is, approaching 125 years old, you're always going to have the potential of running into things that you maybe hadn't anticipated. Now, the original budget for the project anticipated some of these things with a roughly, I think it was 6 or 7% contingency. But as we've worked through some of the challenges, we've had to work through, hey, we didn't anticipate this, or we've had some issues. We're managing that contingency to make sure that the project is staying on budget and that we aren't going over that amount. So a lot of times it's little simple things, hey, we couldn't get this, but we're going to get that, or little finish changes, things like that. But we're working directly with Plaza Corps and our construction partners to make sure that we do those things in the best way that we can so that the project stays under budget. So project tracking, I wanted to touch on that with this. This is actually on our website and we update that every other week. So we want people to be able to look at where our total project summary is in terms of the total costs, how much we've paid out to date for the project so far, and then with that contingency fund, what we've actually used in terms of contingent funds. So that gets updated, like I said, every other week right on our website. If you go to our website, I think it's under
It's under Government and Historic Courthouse.
Government and the Historic Courthouse. You'll see as we get pictures of some of the work that's being done and any you know, other information we think is important to make sure that we share with everyone. You're seeing that. And then obviously this tracker, which I think is one of the key things that a lot of the public really wants to see, is where are we at in terms of the project budget. That will show you that as well. All right. So over the last couple of months, we've had a lot of great things that have happened in terms of the project. So you can see now, if you come through the county, there is a lot of work taking place in the building. We actually recently went on a tour through there, and the central staircase is actually built. We have from the first, the bottom floor to the middle floor, second floor, is actually constructed. They're working on the third floor now. A lot of the interior framing is done, all of the steel supports that need to be put in for all the different new openings and things like that are there. One of the things that we ran into that's been a bit of a setback, but we were able to adequately address this, was to protect the attic structure. There was a fire pump that had to be installed. Essentially, the water pressure from the village did not meet a certain threshold to where we could just tie in directly from the water main and be able to adequately provide for fire protection for the attic. And when you look at the amount of investment that's being made into the courthouse, the renovation project, and in fact, you know, where the bulk of wood and combustible materials is, that's really in the attic area. So that was one unfortunate change that had to be made, but you know, it's still within project budgets. We haven't had any issues there. It was about 7 PSI short, I think, from what we needed it to be. So we did actually run another test, and unfortunately still weren't able to get it to where we needed to. But long term, you know, we do feel that having that protection in a building that we're spending this kind of money on is really important. The fire pump location will actually be downstairs. We did have to change the restroom facilities a little bit there, but we were able to add restroom facilities on the third floor to help accommodate that. So, you know, I think there's been some revisions that were necessary to make this work, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a good change. And I think from the perspective of the public, I don't anticipate this creating any major issue for them. The electrical service will also have to be increased in size. That was one other thing that was a difference from what we had before. After further investigation, that needs to be changed. So there'll be a new transformer outside. You know, in a building like this, with the annex, especially from the 70s, just some of the equipment that's here now does not translate to what's required under code into the future. So that was a change as well. But even with those setbacks aside, the project is still running on schedule, and we are still within budget. So, you know, we're happy that, you know, of the two things that kind of came up and surprised us, we were able to accommodate those. Major milestones. Again, you can see, I think on the left is some of the scaffolding they were putting up as they were working on, I think, some of the central staircase areas. In fact, now...
the left is the opening for the treasurer's office.
Oh yeah, treasurer's office, sorry. And then, let's see, right side. Do you remember what that is off the top of your head?
That's just the structural steel for the grand staircase area.
Okay. And I think as of last Friday, the staircase actually from the Broadway entrance up to the second floor was actually finished as well. So it's really starting to come together. You know, we're really excited to post some new photos in the next week or two to kind of showcase a lot of the work that's happening. It's every day that we get a chance to get in and take a look around, it's amazing how much work is happening. And some additional pictures. So the plaster work on the third floor is mostly done. So the commissioner chambers, that's pretty much all taken care of.
And at the top, you can see part of the dome, that green half circle. That's part of the dome, which
So
they...
This is second floor, this is third floor, that's the dome she's referring to.
Yeah, and that was actually, in the renovation with the 70s, that was actually covered up with the drop ceiling. With this particular project, we are not going to have that under a drop ceiling. That'll actually be showcased for everyone to be able to view. But that space right there is actually where the circulating staircase for the central stair will actually be. You can see on the left there is some of the HVAC systems that have been installed. One of the things that we're excited about, and I'm excited about at least, is we've had some struggles, and I think for any employees in the annex building here, we all know all far too well, that sometimes the way the system is now, you might turn the air down in one place and it might impact other places a little differently than what it does in one room. So if we try to get it cold in here, for example, the IT and GIS areas get really, really cold. This actually has a zoning system in it, so we'll be able to have more granular control of each office and how that's done. And ultimately, I think that's more efficient from, an energy use standpoint as well. And then on the right side was some concrete that was being done kind of early in the morning. There is quite a bit of work that happens sometimes at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning before any of us even get here. And then again, casscountymi.org, right on our website, you can follow along, and then we also are posting regularly on Facebook as we get updates as well. Our intention is to make sure that as we move along that the public is able to see the updates as they happen, and that hopefully everybody's getting as excited as we are as the project continues. Questions?
Yeah. Should have warned you. Who did this slideshow? Ambrosia? That's great.
She helped with it, yeah.
We've got
group effort.
Jerry.
I want to just say, very nice presentation. And once this is complete, we're going to be the envy of all the counties in the state.
That's our goal.
Congratulations, guys.
That's our goal.
I'm real proud of.
Yeah. Certain percentage wants it, certain percentage doesn't, but it's too late now, and I like it. All right, where are we at here? They don't need to move that forward or anything, that's just...
No, that was just for,
an update.
That's just for everybody.
Somebody asked for that before, I forget who, but it's good now. All right, item letter G, Ryan.
Dissolution of the MERS committee. I figured it was time to have a discussion amongst the group to figure out where we're at with that committee. Since it was set up to be a fact-finding mission, just wondering if they're finding any facts or not with the last letter we received from MERS. I don't believe there are any other facts to gather, so I wanted to put it on as a topic of discussion.
The chair of the board, unfortunately, or the chair of that committee isn't here. So I'm on that committee, Mary's on that committee, Matt's on there, Jen, 2 members of the court, Erica's on there, and I think that's it. So, I don't know. I don't want to.
Commissioner Lawrence will be back for the next committee of the whole?
Probably not.
Oh.
Probably not. Maybe the one after that, possibly.
Are there any meetings scheduled in the near future?
No. So it's nothing going on with it right now. Until he comes back, we're not having any meetings, because we did find things, and I had mentioned to him before that we had satisfied the original request for it, or the original purpose for the meeting, but he wanted one more meeting to discuss it with the committee members, and then from there, he was good either way.
I'll just withdraw the item until he has a chance to come back and have that last meeting.
Because we're not having any more, so, okay. Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll revisit it. Oh, Judge Beeler.
I just wondered, it was my understanding, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't attend those meetings, but I do have court staff attending, that there was supposed to be, I saw the letter from MERS, but that they were going to provide their internal policy that was referenced in that letter, and that was going to come back to the committee, which was also one of the reasons that there was going to be another meeting. And I didn't know if any follow-up had occurred to find out if they were going to provide us that, because in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I'm not saying, MERS has created some of this confusion, and so I think it would be helpful for them to follow through on what they said they would do, which is provide that internal policy, because they've given information to the employees and created some of this. And so if they said they provided, it feels like they should. But again, I could be misinformed, but it was my understanding that was one of the reasons for
the additional meeting. Yeah,
well,
you're right.
Because it seems like MERS should follow through on what they verbally tell us. But again, if I'm wrong,
I don't understand. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand if you're. I don't understand that.
I'm just saying it would seem like we'd want to follow up if
Yes.
you're not going to dissolve it.
We're going
make sure
to.
they follow through with it, because MERS a lot of times tells us
Right.
stuff, but they don't ever follow up with their written stuff that they promise us.
Right.
And that's what's created some of this, I feel.
Because we're not gonna decide on that today or the next meeting. We're gonna wait until Jim gets back.
I
And
just thought
then
maybe that
from
would
there-
speed it up for, by then when Commissioner Leyland brings it up again, maybe MERS will have supplied us what they promised, so.
Well, we can give Jim the opportunity since he's the chair of
Yeah.
the committee.
Yeah, and me and Mary are in contact with his daughter, and as soon as he's available, we can get with him and maybe
Awesome.
follow up.
I wasn't trying to hurry that, I had heard that was the last outstanding piece. and
Yeah,
maybe
well,
I'm
that's
wrong.
good, I appreciate it. And Mary won't let me forget. All right, well, so we're gonna go past that. Item H, county policy on personal email use. Commissioner Leyland.
I'd like the policy committee to look at potentially draft a new policy regarding conducting county business only on county email addresses.
And that would not go to our, well, that would go to our business meeting, but it would just, we can just go from here to the policy
From here,
committee.
just go back to policy committee.
Yeah. And who's on the policy committee? Who's the chair of that? Roseanne, so that, she's got it.
I got it.
Yeah, yeah. And what does that entail? What does that mean? Just say you just do county business on, I know, but it's rhetorical question, but it's county business only, county
For
business.
full transparency, you should be doing it on county email only.
Not, because personal email isn't foilable unless you use.
If you're conducting county business, you should be using county.
Right.
I mean, I'll still get stuff sent to mine, but I only do anything through my public email. I only do it through that.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
And anybody want to foil me, here you go.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
Since the courts aren't subject to FOIA, I'm wondering are the courts going to be exempted from this policy discussion, or is it going to be?
That's up to Roseanne and the policy committee.
That'll have to be discussed in the policy committee.
Yep.
Yeah, that ain't up to us.
Okay, well, I'm just asking, because I don't really know what it means. I mean, like, when you say county business, you know, like, I don't know what that means.
I don't think it's gonna mean that we can look at what you all do in the courts. That's, because you all have statutes and things that restrict that, you know, nah. I think that's a separate issue.
Well, and there were people that asked me questions about it, and that's why I'm asking the questions, so that it makes sure that it gets discussed, because, you know, sometimes we use our personal emails when we're on work groups and different things, because there's a bajillion emails going on about a topic that really is not quote-unquote county business, but it is court business, but, you know, it's hard to keep track of, you know, when you're getting hundreds of emails.
I think they'll figure that out in the policy committee.
Okay, well,
Thank you for bringing that up.
I just
No, it
want to
wouldn't be,
state that,
'cause
you
that's-
know, like,
Yeah.
The second Thursday.
I'm not gonna tell
But it
people
can't
that,
be,
for
because
example, if they
this is
sit on a
the-
committee,
this is
that they
the
can't have things go to
spring break
email,
week, so
so,
our
for
person
courts,
maybe
so.
this week.
That's up to them.
I guess they would have both.
All right.
So it'd be
All right, thank you. So what are we doing with that one? That's your motion. We would need a, no, that's because it's going to the policy
to the policy
committee. Yeah,
committee.
never mind. Yeah, we'll take that back.
And that meeting should be April 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So
at-
the
At 2 o'clock, here in the
So
chambers.
April 11th at 2 o'clock, ma'am.
Right.
And somebody can come there and,
See the next BOC meeting.
Yeah.
because
That would be
Yeah.
before spring break, yeah.
all right. Item I, Wallace Park cropland lease agreements. Director Wyman. Give us the elevator version, man.
You know me, don't you?
Yes,
Thank
I
you
do.
very much. I believe you have the information in front of you. Every 3 years, we go out to bid for the available crop land at Lawless
That looks
Park.
good to
We
me.
had 4 bids, the highest being $201 per acre. My Parks and Rec Commission voted unanimously to accept that bid, and I agree with them, and I'm hopeful you'll do the same.
So this right here is you lease out the land and,
Approximately 185
right,
acres.
right, and
For
then
3 years at a time.
where does that money go? Back into just the parks gets that money?
As of right now, it goes to the county of Cass, so.
In a general fund, probably?
But eventually it goes into the parks, I can assure you.
That's an excellent number.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, it's very gracious.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
All right, we got motion on the floor and support. Looks like it's going to our business meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Scott. All right. My favorite letter of the alphabet, J. Fiscal year 24 budget amendments. Director Renfro or Administrator Newton?
I'll make it real quick. We've been trying to accommodate this a little differently through the motions that we make, but we did not have this one originally. So essentially M223 was a budget amendment to approve for the FOC Services Coordinator position. One thing that we didn't capture at that time, though, was the budget adjustment necessary to do that. So, I mean, the motion obviously implies, that you're going to approve for that budget increase, but we didn't explicitly spell that out in the motion. So the amendment is just essentially to make the allocation necessary to the fund balance to account for that position. So, and the motion was already made for the role. This is just catching up the budget to that motion. Now, our practice is to try as much as possible to couple those two things together so it's one motion.
I'll make the motion, push it forward.
I'll second.
All right, motion on the floor and support. To move it forward, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, to the amendments. This will be item K. Community Project Funding Grant Application for fiscal year 25.
I'll take that. So basically what that entails is another congressionally directed spending potential grant that the sheriff is going to be pursuing.
Are you coming out?
You want to say it?
Now, I can handle it if you want. But basically, he's pursuing the grant, and I wanted to put it on this so we could discuss it as a group to give him approval to progress forward, so we're not stuck with timelines, because it's a very short window of opportunity to get everything submitted and turned in. So that's why I wanted to put it on the agenda.
I have a question. Is this from Representative Wahlberg?
Yes.
Okay, and thank you. Because he's going for a grant that's going to help the entire county.
Nice.
It's for fire departments, for a radio system they've been trying to get changed over to.
Yeah.
And it's about a $3 million project.
Yep.
I actually approached Congressman Wahlberg on this a year ago, and we just missed the window for this opportunity, so they called me, or forwarded me the email when the window opened, so to speak, and we have a draft form of the request. We're now requesting or asking for letters of support from community members and the fire departments, and it's going to be submitted on Tuesday.
Okay, do you want one from us? Any one of us, or all of us as a whole?
I think we're looking at one, but if...
Yeah.
We could do one as a whole?
That was kind of the idea behind putting
And this
on the
grant
agenda
won't
here
cost
was-
us any money.
No,
was you have to
no,
have-
there's no match.
Approval to do a letter of support on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, and I'll work and
Yeah.
with Chair Jones to get that squared away.
So my motion is to give the sheriff permission to progress forward with the grant opportunity and to provide a letter of support from the BOC to the grant.
Second.
All right, and then for discussion, this doesn't need to go to the business meeting, we just go ahead and do it.
We can't wait for the business
Don't have time
meeting.
for that.
Yeah.
And it's a
Done.
no-match grant, it's all
Yeah.
100% funded.
All right.
And it's not unusual for a request like this. I've seen some of these awarded like this.
I have too, and it's perfect for that. And especially because Cass is new to him, so we got our fingers crossed.
So when the fire department gets to 800 radios, will that add a channel to the existing 800 radios in the county?
There's already frequencies available for this purpose, so we don't have to add.
Already got them on there, yeah.
All the towers that are assigned to the county are already to accept this.
Because I remember those extra ones for the fair, and then you got 1, 2, 3, it's like 4 extras.
So the problem with those now, that's for the law enforcement side that was brought in 2016, and those are now end of life. And Motorola is now saying they're not going to support them anymore, so we're also looking at that possibility. But all law enforcement agencies were advised they have to pay for those on their own. Initially, we paid for it as a county, and now it's an individual thing. So, but we can still use them. They just won't be supported after December 31st.
Yeah. All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that goes forward, and I'll look forward to that from Matt.
That's so
All
exciting.
right, Item L, yesterday, I got a letter, or I got a phone call, then I got a letter, and I'm gonna take this one because it says the Honorable Jeremiah Jones. I like that. It starts out well. But anyway, it's operating funding request for fiscal years 24 to 25, and it's from the Cass County Transportation Authority, and it's Jerry Bundle, the Executive Director. So I will read quickly. Commissioner Jones, the Cass County Transportation Authority is humbly requesting a short-term interest-free loan from Cass County in an amount of $308,500. The loan will be used for the purposes of continuing operations until we begin receiving disbursements from the millage passed by the voters on the February 27, 24 election, as well as to avoid delays in the planning, preparation, and commencement of measured, responsible expansion of the services provided to the Cass County residents. We requested the amount represents 50% of the estimated first-year collections against Transportation Authority tax levy. We propose that 100% of the tax levy collections be returned to Cass County for repayment of the loan until it's paid in full. Provision of the requested loan will save Cass County taxpayers an estimated $7,000 in fees as well as an interest and solicitation expense when compared to our other options using a tax anticipation note. So I will afford Jerry to speak on that if you all deem necessary, or would we like to move this forward to the business meeting?
I'll start. We're not a bank.
Right.
And with the close passing of the millage, it passed by less than 20 votes?
16 votes.
I would say it'd be a bad move for us to throw the money out like that.
Yes, sir.
I'll wait till, if there are other questions.
I don't know.
So I'll simply draw attention to the last sentence in the letter, which says it has saved the taxpayers $7,000 in fees related to our other option of issuing a tax anticipation note, which would cause us to have to go out for a request for proposal to commercial banks. We do have a third option, and that is to get an advance from MDOT, which would also incur interest that the taxpayers who've already given us a millage will have to pay. So this is the option that best preserves taxpayer money.
And you're saying it's a loan, so we'll get it back. Don't know the terms yet because we just have to agree and talk about that later. And it's the interest free to keep the taxpayers from paying in the future for the interest from a bank or from the state, not stay away from the state.
Well, the other thing I guess to note would be that, I mean, obviously the request is for interest-free. Certainly possible that if that was not a palatable solution, that the Transit Authority would consider, an interest request. If there was, hey, we need to do it, but we would consider it, but we would want to see this level of interest. I mean, that might be something they would consider too, from my understanding.
That is correct.
What's have you all checked and seen what the interest rate would be from a bank or from the state?
No, we'd have to issue an RFP to commercial banks in order to find that out. There's a certain treasury rate that the state uses that changes from quarter to quarter, so we can't exactly anticipate what that interest rate would be, but it's definitely greater than zero.
With the state, who knows? They'll change us at will.
Interest rates are astronomical right now. I mean, they're astronomically high right now.
And like you said, the citizens would have to pay that if we don't do it. Yes, ma'am.
I just, depending on the amount of money being requested, I just want, looking from the county aspect, we talked about interest earlier and how well interest rates are paying right now. And so taking that money out of the bank, we would also be losing money. So just be careful, to think about the aspect of how much interest we would have earned on that for that amount of time. I'm not saying whether I'm against it or for it, but I just want you to think about the cost from our side too of letting someone borrow that.
And what's the interest rate that do you know?
Right now we're getting, they're all over the place. So Hope she shares the investment report quite a bit, but we don't keep, for lack of better words right now, all of our eggs in one basket.
Right.
So they're all over. So, but we are seeing about 4 to 5% right now on interest, which is the best it's been
Yeah.
since I've been at the county in the last 3 years, so I just wanted to bring that up.
And that'd be still better than what they would pay.
Yeah.
And we
Probably
would,
still a lot cheaper than.
it'd be a lot cheaper for the taxpayers. We give them a loan for, say, 4% over a period of time to get paid back. We're whole, they're whole. That makes sense to me, and it will save the taxpayers money, and, you know, I don't know.
It's a no-brainer.
What are we doing? I move that we move it forward to the business meeting.
Yeah.
With that,
Mhm.
I'd probably put a 4% interest.
Yeah.
With the four-
4% interest.
Yes. All right, and we had support? Yeah. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of moving forward to the business meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, ayes have it.
Thank you.
Like to have you there at the next business meeting too, Jerry. Thank you, sir. See, I even get a salute.
Take note, it's not the first Thursday next month, it's the second Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Because of spring break.
Because of spring break.
Oh, man, I forgot. Yeah, good catch, because I sure
I don't want him to
forgot
show up by
about that.
himself.
It will be.
I'll be here, but-
It'd be me, him, and Matt, because I sure forgot. All right, thank you. Next is item M, would be discussion for law enforcement strategic planning for CDET Advisory Board. That is Commissioner Leyland's.
No. it's
No,
Mine.
that's yours.
Yeah, so it was voted on at our last meeting to have have it brought to this board, a CDET advisory board that would consist of, you'll have to help me make sure I get this right, the sheriff, or a person, it'd be the sheriff or a person in his stead, the prosecutor or his assistant. It's basically them or their assistant, the undersheriff or the assistant. Then it would be Village of Cassopolis, one vote, City of Dowagiac, 1 vote, 2 commissioners, and
Edwardsburg?
in Edwardsburg.
Mhm. Is that coming from the,
And that's coming from
that committee?
Yeah,
Okay. Now I'm, yeah.
yeah. So and is that everyone?
County administrator.
Oh yeah, and the county administrator. Of course, the county
Of course.
administrator as well.
How could you forget him?
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was, there was the City of Dowagiac, I don't know if you got this.
Yeah, City of Dowagiac.
I think it was the city manager and village manager from Cassopolis and Dowagiac as well. But the idea was, I think the motion was later amended that each of the local municipalities would have, 1 vote on any recommendations, if there were any that were to come forward.
I had a meeting with the city manager for Dowagiac, speaking of CDET, and he gave me the history from the beginning to that day. And it's, if you all are interested on a committee, if he hasn't already given it to you, it's very inspiring and informational. It's really good. All right.
Yeah.
Any more?
I think Carol has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I speak on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't really know everything that's going on because of course I'm not on that committee, but I know from talking with some other people, I just want to be sure that when we look at this millage, it is a county millage. And I get a little concerned because it feels like we're getting all these other entities in that are going to have a vote. So I just hope that the commissioners, keep an understanding of the fact it is a county millage, and it's for CDET has been the name of it, but I know you got a legal opinion on it, and I know there's been discussions about how it's going to be used, and it's for criminal justice, and it's a pretty broad millage as far as how it's currently passed. I don't know how it's going to be proposed for in the future, but it's important that I believe, since we've been talking about keeping the burden down on our taxpayers, if there are operations that can be funded through that millage at the county level, then I would hope we were going to do that before we spread the money out to the other municipalities, because we've been being told to be good stewards, and I want to be a good steward. And when I'm hearing about all the people that are saying that the millage is for them, compared to how it used to be, I'm just a little concerned because, at least, and this is just my opinion, but criminal justice can't happen without many partners that are here in this room It's not just, one or two. And if we're gonna broaden it to those other municipalities, I just hope that the county is having the largest say, because if you start giving all these other people one votes, then there's a lot of deals that go on, and I'm concerned for the taxpayers in that kind of a scenario.
So you're the chair of that, aren't you? When is your next meeting?
The next Tuesday at 2.
That's where that, because.
But we did vote on having that pushed forward to this already. That recommended.
To here?
Yes.
For this here? Yeah. For this
I
here.
understand that, but I
So
can't go
that
to
what
that
you're
meeting
talking
at
about,
2
I don't
o'clock.
think it has, does that have anything to do with?
Well, you're talking about creating an advisory committee that
Yes.
determines how this money is spent. I guess, to me, it's,
But there hasn't been any interlocal agreements between the new entities that are being added to it or anything else yet.
Let Matt.
I'd like to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
go ahead.
So, I have mentioned this during both of the meetings that have come up, and I serve on the committee, so I'll speak for just myself, but I have expressed concern about that I don't know that setting up an advisory committee before we have a plan for how we're actually gonna use the money makes any sense. I think that the way I would liken this, and maybe this is not a popular viewpoint, but I think you can see when you look at police departments are a good example. Like South Bend PD has this. There are oversight boards that are going to be responsible for getting reports, looking at those sorts of things. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think in terms of establishing the plan as to how we're going to go about this, I don't believe there was a CDEC committee that decided how we were going to form an interlocal agreement when we did this the last time. I think this is a county millage, and I think it's incumbent upon the county to determine how to appropriate these funds to the best, for its best use. And however that, correlates, whether that's, looking at programs with the sheriff's department, whether that's with the prosecutor's office, whether there are other avenues. We've talked about how there is broad language within, the millage to determine how to do this. My argument would be that since the formation of this 20 years ago, things have changed. Whether we agree with this or not, marijuana was a big problem 20 years ago. There's places down the street now that sell it legally. So, and we have opioid settlement funds that we're working in that we can funnel into these programs as well. So the question becomes, when we start looking at some of the other things, the major crime stuff like that, drugs is certainly still a category that we need to be mindful of, but is there something that we should be doing to look at this, to evolve this in some way that makes sense? A lot of the committees seem to be focused on how do we, incorporate the same sort of a system and just include more people. Well, if what we had before wasn't really working the greatest over the last couple of years, how does that fix it? And I don't know that having 12 people in a room to figure this out necessarily from different areas is going to be the way to do it. I think I would almost see these as two different things. You can have an advisory committee that reports to, hey, we want to see a high-level view of what's going on and have the community involved, maybe even members of the public.
So now that I understand
what... You could have a separate group that's figuring out what is our plan, how do we go about this, what's the best way to do this for the county and for all of our residents.
I understand now what Carol's talking, and I agree with that it's a county thing. So you're saying, you and Carol are saying that it should be the commissioners, sheriff, prosecutor, you, to do with the county only, and then anything extra, they have to do that separately, like Edwardsburg, the Wajak.
I would think you could still consider having some sort of an advisory group that might be able to, listen to how things are going. We should maybe giving an update to say, hey, here's what's going on with this. But I think in terms of an actual plan, I would advocate we come up with a plan before we establish an advisory committee to figure out how they're going to oversee it. What are we overseeing?
What are we doing? What are we overseeing and what are we doing?
Yeah, that group started as the potential millage committee, and then it evolved into the law enforcement strategic planning. Now it's trying to evolve into the CDET advisory board.
Woo.
Arguably, the committee was formed with the task of determining whether a new millage would make sense, and the first meeting, the determination was no.
That's true.
So, technically speaking.
That's why I was questioning
the committee
Judge
technically
Beeler.
fulfilled its responsibilities.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to see us maybe just pause on this, because as Judge Beeler said, it is a county millage. And we have a lot of county entities and departments that do assist with criminal justice that lie within the county before we're looking at the outside entities, so maybe it's something to think about before we form a committee with outside entities looking at the county funds.
I wonder how that started with all those outside entities coming here to begin with.
It was the potential millage seeking committee.
Yeah.
New
And then
millage.
it's made
New
evolutions across the few meetings it's had.
All right. All right, RJ,
Yep, you tell me.
so we've got two different opinions here to maybe go revisit that, or,
I would say the wisest move we could make would be to schedule a workshop in the near future and make it solely on CDET and talk about things and figure out some sort of a plan to progress forward and then move forward from that plan.
oh, there we go. Yes, sir. That's what I was waiting on.
So one of the things, we have a very short timeline. We have to have this on the ballot by May 14th. So what we need to do is approve that ballot language and get that done, and that's kind of what this was supposed to be. And there's truly no changes in the ballot language other than terms and length. Everything else should be the same. There was an opinion that was discussed that the county attorney said there could be some aesthetic changes and everything, but I don't think that's a good idea. But we need to get this on and move forward, so I think the idea was try to get it on the next.
The very next one.
I would certainly advocate for that at the minimum, the renewal of the millage. There's a resolution that does that every year.
Because it's passed for the last 6 times since
And arguably,
2020.
that could create a hard stop. I mean, in advance of that is that, you know, we want to talk about a plan as to how we're going to approach it and what we're going to do.
And who does
Like I
that
say, you know,
language?
We're timeline for when the millage language has to be submitted, but
Mhm.
in the interim, we can say,
It's
here's how
supported
we're
by
going
the
to
Board
do
of
this, here's how it's going to,
It's
here's
done.
how this is going to evolve. I mean, I think there's a good time to be able to do that.
So is that, will their committee do that language and then send it here to go to Monica?
The millage renewal has historically come back to the Board of Commissioners
Okay.
via resolution just on its
Right.
own.
And that's what we can,
I
that's
could
what we can
bring
do.
that back as soon as, like, when we were
The
planning it, I
next
think
April meeting.
it would be at the April cow and then
Yeah.
approved in May to make sure
Don't
we
you
were
just
good.
put it on the next?
Yeah.
And it
regular
was-
board
If you guys are
meeting?
good with it, we can
It's
put it on
been
for
From
the
here-
next
That way
business
there's-
meeting.
From here to
Why
next
wait?
business
Well, that's what I'm
meeting.
saying, we can have,
The ballot language, the ballot language.
if we
It was
don't
agreed
want
to
to
that
change
nothing
it.
would be changed, like in that committee.
I
That
haven't
committee
seen-
met,
I haven't seen
and we
it.
did agree that we wouldn't change it
Hold on,
because it
Sharon.
simply was functioning. We did agree that the wording was good,
Mhm.
that the committee, so like we wouldn't change it, other than, you know, the few.
Aesthetic thing that they were
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about.
So if we're discussing it now, we technically can push it right on to the
Yeah, we could
first
just
business
push
meeting of
a-
April.
I can tell you this, that the attorney said that there were some minor things that could be revised, but it was more about what could we do if we wanted to look at minor changes. They said that you could do minor revisions if necessary, but they did not necessarily see a need to change it right now.
All right. So that sounds good to me. Move it forward with the language for the next business meeting.
As far as the advisory committee, this Board of Commissioners approves everything. The
Mhm.
advisory
Yep.
committee is just what it states, it's an advisory committee, so the Board of Commissioners approves or denies anything that takes place from that. The idea of having other agencies involved was to have more of a county millage, their involvement as being part of that project.
Yes.
CDET was very successful, not just in drug enforcement, but also in solving many major crimes in the county.
Mhm.
And those major crimes we're falling short on that today because we don't have the manpower available to do that. So we fall back to the state police, who are also short-staffed. I could get into the whole story on how the state police used to have 50 troopers in Berrien and Cass County, and now they have 16.
Oh, my gosh.
So that gives you some ideas for patrol purposes, I should say. So I guess the whole idea, and I understand the idea of trying to come up with what you're gonna do before you have a committee, but who makes those decisions is what it really comes down to, so. And having more input, I'm not saying everybody gets a piece of the pie, so to speak, but having input as far as the county-wide is important too, so.
So we're keeping just CDET.
I would say our next movement forward would be to still have a workshop and discuss movements progressing forward, including interlocal agreements with bringing on the other municipalities.
Yeah.
Start getting those hashed out so we know the level of involvement of each other municipality.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it should be
Yeah.
noted that if that was to become an advisory board, they don't actually have the legal authority to pass any use of funds. That
No.
still comes to us.
Still
Yes.
comes
So
here.
even though if they are other members, the purpose of that was to provide better efficiency between the county and its partners.
Mhm.
The other.
Yes.
Information that we may not get
Yes,
otherwise.
yes.
So what are we moving forward to the business meeting?
If you wanted to schedule a workshop, I think that's good. And the other thing you could look to do potentially would be to, assign this to staff of the county to draft a plan.
That,
Create something and bring it back to us.
I so move for administrative.
there it is, and bring it to the business meeting. Done. He's got a motion.
Could you read the motion back, please?
I would like the county administrator to draft a plan
Oh.
to present at our next business meeting.
Just the county administrator?
And whoever he deems helpful.
I'm definitely not gonna do it by myself. Just put that out there.
Would it be advisable to just include, like, the sheriff and the prosecutor in assisting in
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
I mean,
I think that's
because-
naturally gonna happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean,
If you
just
wanna
so it
include
says.
in the
No,
motion,
yeah.
I have no objections.
Yes, that's noted.
but you're still gonna be the lead, and it will come to us for
Please
final
include the
decision.
sheriff and the prosecutor in my motion.
Yes.
Okay. How about others?
No,
No.
no,
They will figure out amongst the three of them who
Yeah.
else needs to be included.
that's
I'll
it.
second the motion if
All
it
right.
hasn't been seconded.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
But what
We need a break.
are we gonna do about the ballot language, though? You know?
That's
Oh, yeah,
what he's gonna
that's-
figure
That'll be
out.
on the
Did you
next
guys make a
business
motion for
meeting.
We didn't make a motion for CDAT. We got to, or for that,
ballot
CDAT millage. We
language.
need to just say that we are good with the language as it is and have it moved to our next one.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll support his motion.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
okay.
it.
Okay.
Hold on out in the public. We got still business. Hold on a second, please. If you're leaving, you can go ahead, but the discussion's got to quit. All right, motion on the floor and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-minute break.
Okay.
Oh.
Chair.
Yes, ma'am. M-041-24 is a motion to enter into closed session to review labor negotiations and to include Clerk Register McMichael, Sheriff Benke, Administrator Newton, Finance Director Renfro, and any other party as may be designated by the board chair. Sir, do you have another party? No.
Okay, then we move into closed session.
Is there a support?
Second.
There it is.
right.
Motion on the floor and support. We need roll call for that. Roll call,
Commissioner
please.
Marquetti.
Here.
Commissioner.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Howie.
Yes.
Commissioner Locke.
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yep.
And Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
All right. We'll wait for the YouTube. All right, we are out of closed session. So, new business continued. Item N, it'll be item N. FOPLC letter of understanding, or what we had in session. So we need a motion.
I make a motion to offer 10% loan and to look into long-term bonuses.
We have to speak up because we got.
Long-term bonuses, longevity.
Longevity,
Yeah.
Longevity.
pension.
Yeah.
So 10% pay increase
Yes.
with longevity bonuses.
Sorry, wasn't reading what I was reading.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
All right, motion on the floor and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in, do we need a roll call for that? Just all in favor, because it's moving forward. Yeah, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Any board member comments or announcements? Roseanne.
Well, I had my first donut at the new donut place.
Nice. The one Mary was talking about before?
Yes, and it's open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they open at 5, but he did tell me that by 10 a.m. they're
Sold out.
The
Sold out.
Volenia Maple Festival is this Saturday.
Oh, yes.
9
Yeah.
to noon.
Yep.
Is it noon or 2?
I'm not 100% sure. I know I'm going there in the morning.
Go there at 9 and hang out.
On certain terms, I'm going to
Yeah.
be there.
Joyce? Anything?
No.
All right, Mary?
Nope.
All right. One last order of business.
I make a motion.
All right.
We're done.